Hmm. Okay, so the plan was to do it this way. But YouTube doesn't want to let me. So I'm going to have to figure that out. On a different live stream, I guess. I don't know. So let me just rearrange this a bit. You won't be able to see the palette. It's so annoying. I haven't got a clue how to change it. Not once it's already going. All right, well, we'll do our best. Today we're going to paint this painting, a little pansy fairy, and once I'm finished, I'm going to put it on my website for sale, the original, but also make stickers. There's a weird shadow. I'm trying to make that better, but it's not working. I am going to get better at this. Okay, so let's paint. So let me start out by saying, so I have this drawing. The drawing is basically from my head, but I did take this picture of some pansies, and I'm using that for a little bit of inspiration on the flowers that she's holding and that are in her hair. So that is in front of me on my iPad. And now I just bumped the camera. It keeps not focusing. There we go. Okay, cool. Okay, so I'm going to start out with this brush, which is my number 12 silver black velvet brush, round. It's nice and pointy, and it is a combo synthetic and natural fiber hairbrush. So it's nice. It holds quite a bit of water. I like the point. And yeah, so it's a pretty good one. And since this picture, sorry, since this picture is a little smaller, I'm not going to start out with as huge of a brush as I did yesterday in the live stream I did then. Okay, so I'm looking at this photo, and I'm gonna basically start from the top and work down, getting a light layer and kind of blending all the colors together. So I'm gonna start at the top, which has the green and purple. It's a reddish purple that the flowers are, and so I'm gonna start by mixing some colors. I'll move my palette over so you can see. At some point, I'm going to figure out how to get this to work so that you can see the palette and the painting at the same time. Okay, so I'm just gonna move this over here. This is my palette, and I'm just gonna mix a spring green color. I'll do it right here where I had a bunch of greens yesterday. So I think this green is Hunter's Green, if I remember right. That's what it's called. And I'm gonna mix a little bit of this cool yellow. I don't remember what it's called. Probably lemon yellow. And I don't remember the brands that they are either. Which is a nice bright green color, but it's really bright. So we're gonna add a little bit of red to it to sort of tone it down. So it's cadmium red that I have right here. That's getting closer. Okay, I think I'll go with that. Then in this well, I'm going to mix a puddle of the reddish purple. And I do have this purple, so I think I'll use it. It's a pretty strong color. And I'm going to there's some green and stuff left over. I'm going to pick all that up. It's going to dilute the color a little bit and gray it up. And then we'll add a little bit of alizarin crimson. Yeah, that's perfect. So I like that color, but we need more of it. So I want my water puddles to be big enough so that when I'm working, I don't suddenly run out of the color that I mixed, which is, it's not necessarily going to stay this exact color the whole time. I'm usually mixing together while I go kind of adding colors and stuff, but so I might make it more purple or more red as I go through the painting. I'm gonna add a little bit of this bright blue. I think the blue is called Windsor Blue or Windsor Green. It's a Winsor Newton brand. Okay, a little more red. Okay, so that's a better puddle. And just add a little water so that it's not too dark. Decided this needed more paint too. Okay, and then as I move down the painting, I'm gonna want to be able to just keep going. So I'm gonna mix some paint over here, which will be the skin color. See, I'm running that together. I don't usually hold my palette while I'm mixing. Okay, so for the skin color, I'm going to use a little bit of that cadmium red, super bright. Try adding some warm yellow. And like, it's really bright, but it's going to, I mean, the water makes it lighter, if that makes sense. So, yeah, when it goes onto the page, depending on how much water I have, which is a pretty thin consistency, the lighter it's going to be. So I think this will probably be pretty good. And I think we'll do her dress white. So I'm not going to mix a color for that. Let's go with this. Okay, so here we go. So I'm just starting with a little bit of the green that I mixed. And in the photo of the pansies that I have, there's light coming from this direction, which I think is great. We'll have it come down on her face from this way. So that's the light. And I'm going to start and just do a little bit of green up here in the corner, because it's not really a corner, up here on this topmost leaf. And it's still really bright, so I'm going to mix a little more of that cad red in. I also mixed a little bit of the purple mixture in, so I got a little bit more, yeah, of a gray green. And I'm just going to, actually going to give it a little squirt. So there's like little water specks on there, and that's going to make things not stay right where they are, because when you have watercolor paper, the paint goes wherever it's wet. So those are going to blend together because they're both wet, which is what I want right now. And this purple is nice, but I want it to be a little more red. So I'm just going to add a little red to it. I'm looking at my photo. The light is coming from here, so water in my brush. It's going to make it a little lighter. So see how that's making sort of like little rivulets of things like bouncing off? That's because I squirted it with the squirt bottle. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but it's not going on like this smooth little thing. So now I just have mostly water. I'm just wetting that and letting it run into the paint that's already there. And I'm going to leave some white spots that'll like make it look like a light shining down and make it sparkly. So back now, this leaf, the light is on that side, so I'm going to leave it. Back to my purple color. I guess I want to leave my little yellow centers because these are pansies, so I need to remember that. I didn't do that on this. You could probably do it right here. So again, just wetting that and letting it run down. So it's going to be lighter at the top, so it's just water or mostly water, and darker at the bottom because that's where the pigment is collecting, and it's running down because I have my board set on an angle. It's just propped up on some wood blocks back here. Okay. So, okay, this time I'm going to start water in my brush at the top of the leaf, the petal. So see how light that is. And then grab my color. Mixing a little more pinkish red in. And just adding that. It's not very dark. I'm mixing more purple in. And then just letting that run together. Back to my pinkish red. This petal behind, I'm going to let that one be dark. And I want that color variation to come through. So just kind of letting it, I just covered up that white space. I forgot that one. I guess this isn't going to have one. Okay. So don't paint that spot right there. Don't paint it. I'm talking to myself. Okay, as this one comes down, I'm going to go more pigment, the center of the petal, and then lighter, so just water in my brush, drag the color down. And I want the face to be pretty clear and pretty, so I'm not gonna, right there at least, I'm gonna let it be. Okay, I'm gonna go back to my green and get these leaves. And I'm gonna let it run into the purple. And so I'm wiping all the water out of my brush so it's thirsty. And I'm just picking up a little paint right there so that it looks like a light is hitting that leaf on the edge. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one. This has got kind of like a shadow from the petal maybe. And then that light area. Okay. So now I'm mixing back to the purple color, the red and the purple together, and I'm mixing just a little bit of a thick mixture because I want to drop in some dark colors right here while it's still wet. So it's just not as watery. There's less water in it. And then rinsing my brush, I will move down, pulling that color onto the next petal. Okay, back to my thick mixture of purple. I'm going to start in the center. A little more red. There you go. Leaving the middle yellow bit and come up. Leaving a little bit of those white shining through. Dripping paint. Okay. to just water, pulling it up. Okay, so that's basically mostly just water right there. I'm gonna get that thick mixture again. Lots of paint. You can see that the paint doesn't go where it's dry on the paper. Back to our green. Okay, so that's the first layer of the flowers. And then we're gonna move into the hair. And I'm just gonna make her blonde-ish, because I'm blondish, and then, you know, I stare at myself in the mirror all the time, so it'll be easier. I probably won't need reference. Okay, so I'm gonna mix my purple color that I was using for the flowers with some yellow, which is gonna make a sort of brownish yellow color. And I'm gonna go in, I think right at the back. We know that this is the shadow side. This is the light side. So we can put a lot of color back. I'm using my warm yellow for this. So the warm yellow plus the purple color I had already. I'm just gonna let those run together. It's making a bloom, a little bit of one. I'm gonna let it. So it's all dark back there. But as we come around, there is going to be a shadow where the flower overlaps, and then maybe it's going to be lighter. And same with over here. I'm going to leave some lights at the front where it's hitting her hair on her forehead. And then the skin. I'm going to add a little bit extra red to my mixture that I mixed earlier and do the ear more red. Which will probably look pretty bright at first, but as it dries, it's going to kind of dull down. And then the light's coming from here, so we'll just bravely paint the shadows in. Just like that. I got a little bit on. So I just put some water in my brush and I'm just kind of softening that edge right there. I'm gonna grab a little bit of alizarin crimson and I'm just gonna drop it on the ear and the cheek. And then using the same purple that I mixed earlier, mixing it with the flesh color that I mixed. I'm just gonna see about, I'm nervous about this, drop in a little bit of shadow right there. This little spot on her chin where it's overlapping. If I need to at the end, I can fix that with gouache or I can fix it with Photoshop. Okay, so I'm just gonna let that be for a bit and come back to it in a little while. Okay, so I put these little sort of feathery things coming off. Her wings go. Let's make those similar color to her hair. Like that. And then I said I want the dress white. So all we're going to paint in the dress is the shadows. I don't know why I said that like that, but I did. And I think the shadows should be probably, I don't know, a grayish. I think I'm going to mix my purple and green together and see what I get. Okay, so that made this color and I like it. I think that will go. So I basically just mixed the leaf color and the purple together and I'm just gonna go right in along the back of the arm. Gathers on the sleeves. And again, like I'm just letting that run together. And I don't want to leave this as a hard edge. That's just personal preference. So I'm just getting water in my brush and kind of softening it forward. Okay, now I feel like not having reference, this is a little bit sketchy. I'll say that the half, that back part is in shadow. And the shadow along her arm. Soften this, so just water. Okay, so drying my brush, sucking up some of that color. And then down. There's gonna be some shadow right there. Let all of that be in shadow. And up here, just with water, softening this. The sleeve was looking a little too, the mixture had too much green compared to purple, so I just added a little purple to it. Okay, to the hand. So just grabbing a little bit of the flesh color that's already mixed. I'm just going to leave a little bit of light hitting the top right there. That looks a little different. I think it's because I floated that red in. I'll do it again. Whew, this sleeve is causing me trouble. If I keep messing with it, it's just gonna get worse. Okay, hopefully that's okay. Okay, with the wings, I'm gonna give them a sort of transparent green look. So I'm basically just taking the green that I mixed and watering it down so it's not as dark as those. So the idea is that they're clear, but behind her is some greenery. So they're looking green. And I think maybe they need a little bit of color. So let's, I'm gonna grab a little bit of alizarin crimson and drop it in like that. Do I want more than that? I don't know. I think we'll leave it. We'll leave it like that. Okay, so now with the flowers down here, it's basically going to be a repeat. Didn't like that hard edge right there. a repeat of the top. Sorry. Obviously I started painting something else while I was talking. So I'm gonna give a little spray, make things unpredictable. And I'm gonna start with the green. And just where I just wetted, I'm just going right in, letting it run together. And then to the purple, reddish purple. Remembering to leave that center. Working up. Just wet water in my brush. And color again. The purple is paint that I used is really overpowering. I keep having to add red to make it red enough. See how now this is dry, it adds like some sparkle to the flowers on her head. So we're going to do that again down here. We're going to leave some white sections, including the middles. Mixing really thick paint. Less water is what I mean when I say thick. There's still some, but a lot less. Dropping that in around the center. Back to the green. Okay, so shadow. Right there comes out into the light. So I think I'll save that light edge right there. And again on the next leaf. Adding the paint in. And see how the reddish purple is mixing? It's kind of like toning down the green. I like that. We don't want it to be like neon looking. Okay. Moving kind of upward. Go around this petal. When I drew this, I wasn't really like copying the photo. I was sort of just looking at how the pansies looked in the picture. So there's not actually any logic to like these petals. They're just petals. kind of like that middle petal, so I'm going to leave that white area right there to just, I don't know, keep that shape. Maybe break it a little, just a little. Thick paint, drop that in. I basically went purple right out of the tube that time. See how it goes. Adding more red. This last back petal. Let that one be a little darker because it's in shadow. Okay, I'm still unhappy with this right here. This is an oil painting brush. I'm just gonna scrub that out a little. It's a little still wet, so this might be a bad idea. It's a little better. I don't know. And that sleeve that gave me so much trouble looks funny. It's dry now, so it's a little easier to fix. Go with that. Okay, except for the sleeve. That is the first layer. How are we doing on time? 45 minutes. The first layer just took 45 minutes. Okay, so I think we'll do some more detail up here. This is going to be the driest for the next 15 minutes and then be finished. So I'm going to switch to a slightly smaller brush, which is going to be use this silver black velvet brush. It's a size 8 round. And you can see it still comes to a nice point. So I feel like I can get pretty good detail with that. And I think I have paint in it from last time. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is grab some yellow. This is going to be right out of the tube. And it's my warm yellow. I'm just going to do the centers. But I'm not filling in the whole thing. I want us to leave some of that sparkly white showing. But give it that sense of pansiness. There should be one right there, but I didn't save it. Okay, so that was easy. Okay, now what we want to do is kind of bring out some of the petals by adding some shadows. So I'm just going to take my purple color, which I'll show you. Basically, I'm out. So I'm going to mix up more. And yeah, so it's still the same. The alizarin crimson, the purple from the tube. But I want it to be a little bit bluer because we're adding the shadow, and definitely darker. So darker means partly means less water. So it's a lot thicker mixture. I'll show you again. You can see the difference between that and the first time I did it. Like, you can't really see. This might be a little too thick. Add a little water to it. But it's going to be a lot darker because of how thick it is. And next to that, I'm just going to mix blue, like a very blue purple. That's also thick. It's easier to mix when I'm not showing you, but and I'm going to use these for the shadows. Okay, so we have this front pansy. It's in the light. And I think I'll start by bringing out some of those petals. With some shadow. Using my thick paint, I'm gonna go in and give it a little bit of that petally look. It's thick and red. You can see the shadow is cooler, like more purpley blue in it. The petal center, I use a lot more red. We'll do that with all of these. So I'm sticking it in there and sort of softening it out. Grabbing that purple color again. This pansy, not really sure what I was doing with that. We'll add some shadow behind that petal. Let that leaf pop out a bit. This one, that thick, this one I guess is kind of the star of the show because it's right there in front. So it's probably the one that matters if it looks the most like a pansy, so we can tell. And a little more dark right there. Don't want to cover up my light, especially in the center. Emphasize around the petals a bit. It's not like an outline that would ruin it. We're just bringing that out. I guess that one did sort of get outlined, but don't think of it like that. Think of it as shadows. So, and I'm just connecting shadows. So this is going to go right down behind her ear, add that shadow, and then back of her head. I think that'll be in shadow. And this pansy's casting a shadow down here onto the side of her head. And I'm going to keep going with the shadow on her skin. So I'm basically using the same color, but just adding a little bit. A little bit more reddish. Okay, that edge right there I'm going to leave hard, but not the jawline. That looks ridiculous. This is where a reference photo would be nice, but we're just gonna guess. I feel like you can tell that I'm guessing because it's not very confident. Guess we're gonna go just like that. Okay. These background leaves. Okay, I need to let that dry before I mess with it some more. We'll go back up here. Looking at the chat. This first one. Hi, Sanam's Art. How are you? You're probably gone now, actually, but glad you were here while you were here. Okay. We're gonna do the center of this. All right, so I'm probably gonna end the live there because it's been about an hour, but I'll end up probably finishing the pansies. Just decided I don't like this. The rest of the pansy is similar to this. This one up here, we'll get a little more. No one's down here. And then adding some detail to the face. Can give her a blue eye. This is the last thing we do in the video. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Do you have any questions before we go? Okay, well, cool. Hope that was fun, and make sure to sign up for my email list if you want to know when this is ready. The original will be in my shop, and also we're going to turn it into a sticker, so it will become a sticker pretty soon in the next week or two. So sign up for my email list if you want to know when that happens. I hope you enjoyed this. Talk to you later. Bye.